Okay, another episode of the James Arnold Taylor podcast, getting ready to go. And Hank, we got to get Hank the engineer in. Hank.
Yeah.
Hank.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I'm standing 6 feet away. I don't get near.
You're standing 6 feet away?
Yeah.
And what is that on your face?
It's my mask. What do you mean? I got my mask on.
I know. Well, I mean, it's like that's like a Halloween mask or something. What do you take that off? What are you doing? Come here. Come up to the microphone.
I don't want to get close to it. Can't get it.
You don't want to get close to me. I hate to tell you, Hank, but you and I are the same person.
Okay.
Take the mask off.
I don't want to take the mask off. Take the mask off. You're going to get that.
I don't know what you're saying. You can't do a podcast with the mask on.
Take a video.
I don't have any idea what you're saying.
Okay, take a mask.
Take a minute.
Oh, I got dizzy. I can't breathe.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can't. I mean, that's like what is that? That's like a Halloween mask. It's not a mask. I don't even understand you.
Well, they say wear a mask, and so I want to make sure I'm wearing a mask and doing the right things.
I think you're taking this a little too far, and I don't think that's what they were talking about. Anyways,
well, all right. Maybe we shouldn't be too close.
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. Okay? The way I look at it, people in your own house, especially a person that shares the same vocal cords.
What do you mean?
Nothing. People get it. The show's called Talking to Myself. It's me doing the voices. Come on. We all know.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Anyways, okay, let me test the microphone. Hello.
Okay, but I'd prefer you to not spit on the microphone. See, when you do the hello, you kind of spit everywhere.
Well, I'm just saying. That's why I'm putting the mask.
No, don't put that there.
Hello.
Okay, no, nobody can understand. But you know what? Why am I fighting this? Actually, why am I arguing with you and trying to get you to actually be on the show in the mask?
What do you mean?
Nothing. Why don't you just go and eat an onion sandwich? Ooh, I can't even imagine eating an onion sandwich and then putting that mask on. The smell inside that must be something.
Yeah, it's a sight to behold, man.
Okay, I don't know what you said, but I think you said something about it being a sight to behold.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Well, why don't you go get Billy then? Let me get Billy in here and he'll help me out. Okay. Hey, Billy. Hey, Billy.
Oh, what's it today?
What, you got a mask on too? You guys are wearing a Halloween mask. What are they? I don't know. His was like some weird kind of alien thing. Fake, like a knockoff Star Wars one. What is that you're wearing? Oh, is that Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yes, I wear the Obi-Wan Kenobi mask. That's it.
Okay, Billy, I can't understand with them. Can you take I appreciate the Obi-Wan Kenobi mask that you're wearing, but can you take the mask off? It's okay. We don't have to worry about the social distancing here on the podcast, okay? We're in a studio. We're in a contained environment. It's all good. Everybody's been deloused. It's fine. It's fine. All right? It's fine. Take the mask off. It'll be fine.
Okay, should I not be? I shouldn't be too close to the microphone. I shouldn't be close to you now.
No, you can just go to the guest mic. Both you and Hank, there's another microphone here that's the guest mic. You guys don't need to talk on my microphone. I'd prefer you to not talk on my microphone because that is a little too close. Look, the whole social distancing, I get it, but for me personally, I just never really like people getting in my space anyways. So just go to that microphone.
Yeah, this microphone, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, oh yes. Hello.
Okay, you don't need to be Hank though, right? Billy, how are you?
I'm doing very good, sir. Yes, Mr. James. Yes, James. Sir, social distance James a lot.
Okay, all right. Are you hanging in? You're being well? Family's good? Everybody's safe and healthy?
Oh yes, we're doing very well.
We're all doing very well too. I think most people are doing very well. And that's certainly my prayer and hope for everybody, that everybody's doing well. I just wanted to check in with you, and it's good to have you on. You haven't been on the show in a while, in any big, we haven't talked to you. So now, you're an intern for the show, Billy.
Yes, sir, Mr. James.
Just James?
Yes, sir, Mr. Just James.
No, just James.
Just James.
Okay, whatever. You're an intern on the show, so you are a student. You normally are, how are you doing classes and stuff?
Well, no, so, I do all the classes from, on the Zoomers.
You're like Hank now. The Zoomers, Zoom, the Zoom.
Yeah, the Zoom.
Okay. You Zoom classes. Are you finding though, Billy? This is what I'm hearing now, because I have a 15-year-old daughter, as you know.
Oh, yes, no, Lydia, she's lovely. She's very nice.
Okay, yeah, back off. And she is getting, and some of her friends, they're talking about now. I love how all of them create these new sayings like instantly out of nowhere, but they're getting Zoom fatigue. Are you getting the Zoom fatigue with your classes?
Well, if that means that I'm getting a little fatigued by having to do everything for just on the Zoom and all of that, then yes, sir. Yes, I actually am getting the Zoom. I didn't know that's what it is. Yes, I'm actually getting Zoom fatigued.
Yeah, you are. And after that last sentence, I'm getting a little Billy fatigued.
I'm sorry?
Nothing. Yeah, a lot of people are getting the Zoom fatigue, meaning they're spending too much time on the Zoom. Just Zoom, everything Zoom. We'll all meet via Zoom. It's crazy. It's a little crazy, but look, I wish I bought stock in Zoom back before all of this, huh? If we all known that you buy a little stock in Zoom, not that I don't really buy stocks anyways, but that's the saying, boy, if I'd known then, I could have bought stock in Zoom. Who's that guy? I don't know. Is that that's my accountant guy or something, huh? Hey, yeah, how you doing, James? Yeah, I'm your accountant. I don't know if I trust you if you're my accountant. Oh, anyways, hey, Billy, I'm glad you're doing that. Don't get fatigued, though. Try not to get fatigued.
Oh, I'll do my very best, sir, Mr. James, sir. James, yes.
Let's get Mr. Announcer Guy in here to announce the show, though. That's probably a good idea, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay. Hey, Mr. Announcer Guy.
Oh, yes, James.
What? You're social distancing, and you can get on, you have your own Mr. Announcer Guy mic. Yeah, we have the guest mic, we have my mic, and then we have Mr. Announcer Guy's own special mic that he's on. You don't need to social distance from your own microphone, Mr. Announcer Guy.
Yes, James, I'll do my very best.
Okay, but you can take that mask. That mask looks, now correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Announcer Guy, that mask actually looks like a mask of you.
That's right, it's actually a mask of me.
Take the mask off so I can understand you better.
Oh, yes.
Ooh, I can breathe.
That's right.
Yeah, man, it's actually a mask of my face, man. I had it made so then people would just go, hey, look, it's just him.
Yeah, but I think, okay, here's the thing. I think you guys are getting the wrong impression of masks. I don't think anybody said wear Halloween masks. But I like it. It's kind of fun and funny. So, anyways, people are wearing masks to cover just their nose and their mouths when they go out. We'll talk a little bit about the masks and my thoughts on the masks and stuff, but but I think you guys got the wrong idea. Anyways, Mr. Announcer Guy, how are you? Are you doing okay? You're staying good and safe and all that?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling healthy.
Well, you and I, being voice people that make a living with our voices, this is kind of just par for the course for us.
Yeah, I don't golf, but whatever, man.
No, okay, well, it's an expression. Meaning that, we're used to not touching our faces after being out and stuff and washing our hands a lot and being safe and all.
That's right, man. You got to protect the cords, the pipes.
Yes, the vocal cords, the pipes as they call them, yes.
Yeah, man.
Okay, well, so you're doing fine. You're doing healthy. You know what I just did? I had a session for Fox. And I had to do your voice just before we started the podcast.
That's right, man. It was the season finale of Animation Domination.
That's right. I'm sad. When the season ends, it's sad for me because when Fox, then throughout the summer, Fox doesn't usually need me. And I don't do promos for them throughout the summer, which makes me sad because I really it's some of my favorite work in voiceover to do. I love working with all the people. They're wonderful people. And it's also sad because then you're missing out on a job, which of course we don't want to miss out on jobs or anything. But so summertime, great, but not so great for not doing promos. Makes me sad.
Yeah, man, totally.
So we just finished a season finale Sunday promo before starting the podcast here.
It's Animation Domination Season Finale Sunday.
And I always have to say finale. They want me to say finale. I'm used to saying finale. We've covered this before, I think, on the show.
Yeah, man, you're retracing steps.
Okay, all right. I don't want to repeat. I repeat a lot on this show. I know people probably think, gosh, he says the same stuff. I do, because, I'm a people pleaser, and I'm one of those people that always doesn't want to assume that, Everybody knows everything about the show. Even though we're 45 episodes into this show and almost 2 years of recording it, I still like assume that, half the people listening are first-time listeners. And so I like to fill them in on everything, that all the characters here, Mr. Announcer Guy and Billy the Intern and Hank the Engineer and Jake, one of the announcer guys, all your brother announcer guys, and Jerry the Music Man, and all the characters on the show.
And don't forget Franklin, your agent.
That's right, Franklin, my agent. I haven't talked to Franklin. Maybe we should call Franklin at some point. Should we call Franklin?
Well, let me introduce the show first.
Oh, yeah. Since we're like 10 minutes into the show, you should probably introduce it. Okay. Hey, Jerry the Music Man.
Yeah, James.
Okay, take the mask off, Jerry.
Sorry, James. Yes.
Boy, that joke's getting old.
Yeah, I know.
Cueing the music for the James Arnold Taylor podcast.
Thanks, dude. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's the James Arnold Taylor podcast. Talking to myself, the JATcast.
Man, that's a lot of names, isn't it?
I always think so, too.
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Anyways, yeah, here he is, the guy that's doing all the voices you're hearing, including this one, James Arnold Taylor!
Thank you, Mr. Announcer Guy.
You got it, man. I'm going to quarantine now.
Okay. And there he goes. Who'd have thought that all of this would allow for so much comedy fun on the show? Welcome to the James Arnold Taylor podcast. What were we were gonna talk about something. See, look at that. I got all carried away in Mr. Announcer Guy's announcement that I forgot.
You were going to call your agent Franklin.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Announcer Guy. Yes, we were going to call Franklin. So let's give Franklin a call. I'm curious to see how he's doing during the quarantine and with his son. So if you're new to the show, my agent Franklin and his son Brian is an interesting fella that a lot of times gives me a bad time about. He's a big Ewan McGregor fan, so he gives me a bad time about being Obi-Wan Kenobi. But we'll see if Brian answers and if he's been enjoying the quarantine.
Oh.
Hello?
Oh.
Is that Brian? What, Brian? Take your mask off. This joke is getting old.
Hello. Yeah, is that Obi Nobody?
Yes, it's Obi Nobody.
Hey, dude, I saw that season finale of the Clone Wars.
Oh, season finale, series finale. It was not the season, it was a series finale. The end of the Clone Wars. Yeah, you saw it? You have the Disney Plus?
Yeah, dude.
Cool. And what'd you think?
I thought Ewan McGregor was really good in that. I'm glad they got him instead of you.
No. It was me. Because I have voiced Obi-Wan throughout all of the Clone Wars, and it was me. It was not Ewan McGregor.
Not even, dude.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Okay. Anyways, you liked the end of the... Don't give any spoilers because you're on the podcast right now and some people may not have seen it yet.
No, I'm not a spoiler, dude. So, yeah, people should watch it. It was rad. And,
Okay, calm down.
I thought it was really cool, dude.
Well, thank you, Brian. This is the most civil conversation you and I have ever had.
Whatever, dude. You want to talk to my dad?
Yeah, I do. You're like a mind reader.
Yeah, dude, I'm psychic. All right, hang on. Dad. Dad, take the mask off. Dude, he's already done that joke.
Oh, good. Okay, give me the phone. No, give me the phone. Yep.
No,
give me. Hello, darling. Oh, I got so excited. Toot.
Hi, Franklin. Good to have you here on the podcast. You were doing the whole mask and social distancing thing too there, yeah?
Yeah, I didn't know if I should take the phone from him because, I want to keep my distance.
Yeah, but you guys are family and, you wash your hands and stuff. I think, people, you don't want to take it so far that you can't be around the people in your house.
I don't know if I want to be around Brian even without the social distancing. Ooh.
Yeah, that's, well, fair enough. So it's been a busy time, though, for me as a voice actor people are going, oh gosh, can you still work? Because a lot of Hollywood is shut down. Now you represent other people besides me. You represent talent on camera and stuff too.
Yes, I represent all the big stars and the famous people, and then you.
Gee, thanks. So has it been harder for people?
Yeah, everybody's scrambling. They all want to put together a voiceover booth and then have it in their homes like you. But you've been doing this forever.
I've had a home studio for 26 years or more, just a little over 26 years.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
So I am very used to having a home studio and recording at home and doing all this. It's not a big deal to me. And so, yeah, everybody's been calling me.
I know because I've been sending them to you.
No, don't, Franklin, come on.
What? I just said, you know who would know how to do that is Jimmy Arnold Taylor.
You don't call me Jimmy Arnold Taylor, I hope.
I do behind your back.
Okay. You know I don't go by Jimmy, and I don't like the Jimmy.
I know. I'm just giving you a bad time.
Okay. So people are looking to build their home studios now. They're all getting a little frantic, a little crazy about it because everybody wants to do voiceover now.
Everybody wanted to do voiceover before.
I know, but now it's even more so, isn't it?
Yes, darling. It's even more. Everybody, voice.
I know. It's crazy. But so it's been busy. I've been working on a lot of projects.
Don't say anything, darling. You're on the podcast. Don't give it away.
No, I know I can't. I can't talk about anything I do because it's all NDAs, non-disclosures. But we've been working, and I'm thankful, Franklin, that we're working on a lot of stuff.
Yes, we're doing real good with the voiceovers.
Okay, stop with the fake song. I don't understand why you always do the fake song.
I get excited. Oh.
You get excited and you toot. Okay.
I do. I mean, that's what happens.
I don't know why it's so loud on the phone when you toot. But anyways, okay. Stay safe, Franklin. I just wanted to check in with you, make sure everything was good.
I'm staying safe, and then we order stuff, and Brian has made a fort out of all the toilet paper.
Okay, so you guys are the hoarders. Don't hoard the toilet paper, Franklin.
Well, no, it's fun, and now we can get like a little castle he's made out of all of it.
Yeah, but other people don't have toilet paper now because you guys went and bought it all.
Oh, I never thought of that. You need some?
No, I don't really want your toilet paper.
Okay, darling. Anyways, I'm gonna go play in the toilet paper fort.
All right. How old are you again?
What?
Nothing. Never mind. I'm so glad you're my agent.
Oh, me too, darling.
I was kidding.
What?
Nothing. All right, Franklin. You and Brian go play in the toilet paper fort and social distance with your masks on. What's your mask, by the way?
I wear a Bozo the Clown, because I love Bozo and he makes me smile and laugh, and he kind of scares Brian.
Stop it with the clown mask.
Hello, Brian.
Stop it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Again, you guys have gotten this mask thing totally wrong. All right. We'll talk to you later, and thank you, Franklin. Let me know if any jobs come in.
Oh, yes, darling. All right. All right. I love you. Stay social distance safe.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to sing a social distance song.
No, you're not. I'm going to hang up on you.
All right. You got the song.
Okay. Oh, this is the world I live in. Welcome, everybody, to the James Arnold Taylor podcast. Hey, we do have actually a lot of cool stuff happening on this podcast, a special one. Now, most of the time the show is called Talking to Myself, and most of the time I spend the time talking to me, as I've just done for 20 some odd minutes. And I want to talk about everything that's going on, but I also want to just, entertain you, but also get you to what are we going to do? What do we do? I've got 2 things of water with me right now. What's one of the rules of the James Arnold Taylor podcast? That's right. You have a big glass of water with you. That's good water. And you drink water while listening to the James Arnold Taylor podcast. Why? Because hydrating your body, very, very important. Don't drink soda. Don't drink coffee. Don't drink all that during the James Arnold Taylor podcast. You take a break from all that during my show and you drink water. Cool, refreshing, lovely water. And we hydrate our bodies and we breathe deep. Let's do some deep breathing. Okay, we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold it for 7 seconds, out for 8 seconds. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Do that while I'm talking to you now. Breathe in for 4, hold for 7, blow out for 8. While I'm talking to you during this part now, you're just relaxing and breathing and remembering everything is okay. You're listening to the James Arnold Taylor podcast, so that gives you that chance to deflate, to relax, to laugh, to live, to love, to imagine, to dream, to take in inspiration. This is your time. This is my giving back to all of you that are wonderful fans of me and my show and my work and whatever I've done in cartoons and video games and stuff, being the voice of all these characters all these years. This is my thanks to you. So breathe, drink some water, relax. Don't think about the news and all the junk going on. Let's just breathe. Let's just take it in. If you're listening to this show right now, that means you are a living, breathing human being with dreams and goals and stuff, but it also means you've made it through. You've made it through some tough stuff. And you're ready to just relax, to laugh, to experience something. Life, it can't be that bad if you're taking the time to listen to the show, okay? There's been a lot of scary stuff going on. A lot of scary stuff that's been put out there. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say a lot of it has been made to scare us. A lot of it has been made to get us fearful. We don't want to be fearful, okay? You cannot live in fear. We're going to talk about fight or flight and stuff today with a guest. We have a very special guest on the show. I'm very excited to have a very dear friend, longtime friend, an amazing therapist. He is a therapist that has been a radio host. He's been an actor, a speaker, a singer-songwriter, a stuntman, a police officer, a writer, author of a book, a fantastically talented man who also is the epitome of what I'm talking about, calm, cool, and collected. He does not fear in times of trouble. You know why? He's seen it all. This man has seen it all. He really has. He's gone through the gamut in life. He's gone through the hardest things people will go through in life. He has. And we're going to hear from him. But here's the cool thing. With all of that said, you're going to laugh, you're going to enjoy, you're going to be inspired by the time that I spend with a very dear friend of mine named Joe Sikorra. Joe Sikorra is a therapist and a wonderful guy that I sat down with and talked to. And that's what the bulk of this show is going to be today, is my time with Joe talking about how we cope with all of the junk going on and how we just deal. So right now, I just want you to get into that mode and go, you know what? I started listening to James's show so I could laugh, I could relax, I could take it in. It's exciting when that comes up and I get my notification that a new episode is up. But by the end of it, I'm going to have tools in my belt, in my holster, to pull out and use when I'm feeling afraid, anxious, perplexed, depressed, frustrated, angry. I'm going to have tools, because that's also the goal of this show on a regular basis, is for me to give you more than just entertainment, but to actually give you tools. In my regular life as an entertainer, I give you entertainment. I provide that. And here's the line that gets blurred for all of us celebrity folk, all of us people in the public eye, is we go, oh, that means I have a platform to talk about what I believe politically or religiously. And yes, I do talk about my spirituality here. I do. But sometimes people use it as a platform to push things. I try to make it as this show is the one place where I talk about things that are deeper than what I do as an entertainer. And I always try to respect the boundaries of that, to say, here are my thoughts. Here is how I live. Here is what has worked for me. Most importantly, here's what's worked for me in my life. Here's the tools and techniques and things that I do on a regular basis to make me get up out of bed every day and start my day on my knees, actually, in prayer, thankful to God, and going, now I'm going to conquer whatever I need to conquer today. Look, your day could be as difficult as dealing with tons of people on a Zoom call and conferences and juggling work stuff, or it could be as simple as, I just have to make sure the garbage cans get taken out because it's trash day to day. And that's it, because there's so little to do right now. But you know what? Here's what I say. Write it down. Check it off the list. Write down those simple things. Do laundry today. Okay, it's laundry day at the Taylor house because it's Monday as I'm recording this. And so it's laundry day and cleaning day. And it's trash day. And so all those things are happening. So those things get put on a list. At the end of the day, you check it off. Even if it's something you would do, I mean, you could start your day with a list of brush my teeth and get out of bed. And if you're at this point, somebody that's having difficulty with life, it's good to write those things down. And then at the end of the day, after you've done them, check them off the list. You know why? It gives you a feeling of accomplishment. And even the smallest little accomplishments in our life can build bigger ones throughout our life and build new habits and new disciplines and new reflexes in us to go, not so bad after all. Yes, I can accomplish things. If you can accomplish the little things like getting up and brushing your teeth in the morning, you can accomplish the big things. Like dealing with that person you don't want to deal with, having that conversation you don't want to do, trying to find new work. Now, I've been getting emails from many of you. Got one from a fellow named Rick in the U.S. that I'm going to read after I play you Joe's thing, because I want to get to Joe's thing and talk about being unemployed and life and what do you do and all that. So we're going to tell a little story and all that, but that'll be after we listen now, because this is going to be really helpful for all of you. So for you now, my time with marriage and family therapist Joe Sikorra here on the James Arnold Taylor podcast. Take a listen. Mr. Joe Sikorra, I thank you so much for joining me here on the show, on the JATcast, as we call it. That's what we call it. You know, me and the fans, the three people that listen. We call it the JATcast. Thanks for being on with me.
I listen, so you're up to 4.
That's okay. Great. So now you have done so many things in your life, and that I want to touch on that because I think a lot of people that listen to this show are searching for goals in their lives and what to achieve. But what I love is you've been an actor, you've been a stuntman, a police officer, you speak regularly to people, a radio host, a podcaster, a TV host, a singer, a songwriter, and a therapist.
It's called ADD. My wife frequently asks me, what are you going to be when you grow up? I go, I don't know. Still figuring it out.
Isn't that kind of a great way of living, is being able to take these things and become different things in different eras of our lives? And that is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a lot of fun. I mean, when I was a kid, obviously, like you, well, you really knew what you wanted to do. You said, I want to be a voiceover actor. And
right.
You did it,
Yeah.
What were you, 4 years old when you made that decision?
Yeah, I was.
So I was similar. I think when I was in my, early teens, I said, I want to be an actor. And I pursued it and met with success. But then life comes along. And I think here's where you've got to be flexible. If you really want to be resilient, if you really want to, enjoy the adventure of life, you've got to be willing to be shaped and molded by life's experiences. So even though I was an actor and was, not successful, like, oh, there's Joe Sikorra, but I had worked, I had made a living.
Right.
But, things happened in my life and I was really faced with having to let go of my dream and say, okay, God, what can you make of my life now? And that's a far better place to be. So it's a big story, but
yeah.
So I just started to explore other aspects of life, and it was wonderful.
I think you and I are similar too, in that I don't feel like I necessarily hear God go,
James, do this today.
It's not like an audible voice, certainly not. But
you just sounded just like God. That's exactly how I imagine him sounding.
I've got to add him to the show as a new character then.
Yeah, careful.
Yeah, I know. But how is it when you feel those shifts in your life where you feel like, maybe I'm feeling a tug by the Holy Spirit, or what exactly is it for you?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I never heard that voice like, Joe, I want you to now be a cop. Yeah. Sometimes it's the desires of your heart. Like while I was an actor, I had family members who were in law enforcement, and I thought, man, I want to do that too. There was just something fun about it. And it was that desire of the heart. And so I pursued it. I was a reserve cop for 10 years and just did it for free and loved it. But then later on, when my hand was really forced, and again, we can talk about that or not, but when my hand was really forced because my life circumstances were challenged and changed so significantly, it wasn't like I said, yes, now I want to become a full-time police officer. I kind of went kicking and dragging.
Really?
And yes, because I thought, I've got to do something. I've got to take care of my family. I've got to make more, more money. I had to let go of my dream.
Yeah.
And so it was very difficult. So because I had to reconcile that being an actor maybe wasn't God's call for me. Maybe that was just Joe's desire. And so I had to let go of that and say, okay, I'm going to do this. But it wasn't really like my heart's like, yeah, this is what I really want to do. And I think that's the whole idea with faith, is sometimes you have to let go of your own desires so that you can be shaped and molded and called out to do something different by God.
Right. That, it's similar in my stage show. I talk about the things that happen to me in my health and such. And so it made me find new muscles to work out. And it's kind of the same thing, right? Where the things that we feel are like a pain or hurt us, or we just don't want to do, or plain and simply want to whine about, those things, if we can flip the script, so to speak, and go, oh, these are really new opportunities to grow in places I never could have imagined.
Yes.
Then we can take off. Does that kind of echo what you're saying?
Absolutely. I think we're discovering that, right now we're in the midst of the coronavirus and all that. It seems like we're getting outside of it now and life might return. But a lot of lives have been shaped and changed and challenged. And a lot of lives have been destroyed too. There's no doubt about it. But I think that no matter the obstacle, and this is where Joe the therapist now comes in, is like, we're all going to face crisis in life. We're going to have setbacks and hardships. And if you really want to learn to thrive despite life's difficulties, you've got to say, okay, now what is the opportunity? How can my life be reshaped and molded? How can I begin anew? And I think we're going to find this with the coronavirus, people coming out and refashioning new lives, new careers.
Right.
But like with you and your health crisis, with me and my family's, health crisis,
right.
Sometimes that's what we're allowed to do, is to say, okay, now what? And with faith, I think that's a great opportunity. It's like, I have no idea how to do this, but okay, God, I've got to do something. Now what? How do I do this?
Yeah, and he comes through if you're really open to that. So you wrote a book called Defying Gravity.
Yeah. How
Choosing Joy Lifted My Family from Death to Life.
Yeah.
I love the title because it says it all, but this is an awesome, awesome story. I loved reading this book. And can you just kind of give us a little about it? Because you've talked about a bit about your family and the struggles and things, but this is a huge thing that has happened in your life, and you've taken it and done exactly what we're talking about. You've used it all for the better. You and your entire family have flipped that script and just said, we're going to make the best out of this and find providence in it. Can you just tell us a bit about your book?
Yeah. I never intended to write a book. It was not, it was one of those things. It wasn't my life goal in high school. Someday I want to write a book. It wasn't like that. It came out of a process. I used to, write these Christmas letters, and people would get them. They said, oh my gosh, they were so funny. What a great story. And then tragedy hit my family. Long story short, my oldest son, when he was 7 years old, he was diagnosed with a rare neurological degenerative disease that would lead to his death. And he died a few years ago at the age of 24.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
And so I was writing all these Christmas letters, and they got kind of depressing for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I thought, wait a second, this isn't all of my life. I'm still with my kids. We're living joyfully. We're doing a lot of cool and fun things.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, I've got to start writing about what is good as well in my life, not run from the struggle, but write about the whole adventure of life. Now, what do you do? Because I was really faced with having to redefine, okay, what is life all about?
Yeah.
And, knowing that life is going to be cut short for my kids. What is it all about? So my Christmas cards got a little bit deeper, and people would call me and they said, oh my gosh, I laughed and I cried and I laughed and I cried. And then somebody ridiculously said, you should write a book. And being just enough of a nut,
Yeah.
I shouldn't admit that as a therapist. I said, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
It was one of those things. I don't know how to write a book, but I'll just figure it out as I go. Great metaphor for life, because I think, we all have that opportunity. So I began writing it and then rewriting it, and then the third draft and the fourth draft, and I sent it to a publisher and it got turned down, and I wrote another draft and just sent it to more people. And then finally, a publisher said, "This is a really beautiful story,
Yeah.
and we want to publish it." And I said, "Oh,
Wow.
and behold, I've got a published book." So yeah, it was really about my life's this journey so far up to this point with my kids about life and death and the lessons learned.
Right.
Meeting real obstacles like we had done.
Yes.
And so it just came out. And I think part of it was that cathartic experience. I think I was trying to figure out, what does life mean now? What really matters now? How do I find meaning and purpose now? And so part of the book was me working things out, trying to understand what had happened. And part of it was just to share this experience and try to encourage and instill hope in other people who are facing, great difficulties.
Well, it is exactly that. It's very inspiring, and it is just a beautiful read. And it's like sitting, I've known you for many years, so it's like sitting there and hanging out with you and you just telling a story, but a very compelling story, a very emotional story, but also a very fun and light and uplifting and funny story as well. And
Yeah.
people go, what? How can you combine those? You managed to do that for not being a writer, you managed to write one heck of a book in that regard. And I thank you for it. I would love to see an audio version of it because I'm an audio guy. And so I'm hoping that maybe we can talk about that in the future because I think many people would benefit from that. I don't know how, if you listen to audiobooks, I always say books on tape because I'm an old guy, but I get the book on tape.
Book on 8-track. Is that 8-track?
8-track.
Reel to reel? What is it?
Yeah. But I feel like it would also be a wonderful way for people to hear that story through your own voice and such too. So I hope we can see that happen.
I'd like to do that. We'll definitely have that conversation because I would like to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just have you read it.
No.
You could do all the different characters.
No.
You can play my wife.
It has to be you. So no, but it really is an awesome story, and I highly recommend people go. It is on Amazon, and I've seen it in bookstores locally as well. I know at my Barnes and Noble I've seen it there and such, I believe. But it is Defying Gravity. You can really just if you search Defying Gravity, it'll pop up. But then the subtitle: How Choosing Joy Lifted My Family from Death to Life. By Joe Sikorra, and I should say it is Sikorra, 2 R's. Get those 2 R's in there, right?
Yeah, well, you spell it correctly. Not
Yes.
many people can do that. You've got talent.
Gosh, so many things we could talk about in so many different directions, and that was the one fun thing you said before we started. You're like, we can go wherever on this, and I love that we can. And the one thing too, again, I think most of the folks that listen to my show, they're pop culture fans, they're Star Wars fans, they're comic book fans and stuff, but they're also fans of finding who and what they are in life. And that's why I thought it was such a great fit to have you on here, is to talk about those things. There's a lot of young folks, I think, that listen to my show that don't know what they want to be yet, Joe. And so what do you say to a young person like that comes in for, to talk with you or just, asks your advice over a cup of coffee when they go, I just don't even know what I want to be yet? Is there a starting point?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And again, for me, my own personal life experience, like you said, I was an actor and a stuntman and a cop, and I'm now a marriage and family therapist. I've done different things. So I would say, first of all, recognize if you're in your 20s, your 30s, your teens, or whatever it is, that you don't have to have all the answers. What you have to be willing to do is to fail at things. I think a lot of young people, especially these days, there's no doubt about it. The science, the research says we are suffering more, the young especially, with anxiety and depression. And I think the biggest reason why, and there's a number of reasons why, is that we don't think it's okay to go out and fall down or fail.
Right.
And I think if you really want to discover who you are, you've got to be willing to go out and try things and look like an idiot or fall down and fail. I look like an idiot frequently.
No.
But I think that's it. I would say, just go out and experiment, because at some point you're going to say to yourself, oh, wow, this feels really good. I love to help people, or I love story, or I love to write, or I love to... And I think that's important to find out what you love.
Right.
But I would want to say this with the caveat that Like for instance, you knew very early on that you love doing voices. You love to, make a story come alive with your voice.
Right.
But we also have this capacity in our brain, this God-given capacity to actually grow and do things that we never thought we were good at. So I'd say, even if you thought, oh, I'm a really great athlete, maybe I should be a pro athlete. No, maybe you're really gifted in this area, but you can also grow to become something that you never thought of. And here's the example I would give from scripture. I always think about this. Peter, the apostle, right? Before he was an apostle, he was what? He was a fisherman.
Yeah.
He was a professional fisherman.
Yep.
And Christ comes along one day and he says, Peter, come follow me. He drops the nets. I mean, he becomes like a leader of the church. He becomes a great apostle, an evangelist.
The Rock.
Right, the Rock. And Peter didn't have this experience. He didn't have the degree. He didn't have the training. But God was able to shape and mold that. And he was willing to go out and make a fool of himself and fail. And he did, right?
Yep.
He denied Christ. He did all sorts of things that were mistakes. So I would say, again, to young people, if you don't know what it is that you want to do, I would say just risk and try things. Be willing to fail.
Yes.
It's a great teacher. That's where I'd start.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. No, I think that is a really important thing for people to hear. I do say it often, not as well as you said it, but I say it.
But you can say it with different voices.
That's right. So if I do it in a funny voice or as Obi-Wan Kenobi, then it's all fine. But it really is the truth. I mean, I didn't know. I knew I wanted to be a voice actor, but I got into stand-up comedy. I got into radio, and I knew those were going to help me. Yeah. But I also thought, I'm having fun doing them, even if this isn't the goal, because I didn't just instantly become a voice actor. Right. At 16, I was a stand-up comic. 17, I got into radio. And it wasn't until I was in almost my 30s that my career as a voice actor actually took off. Right. So I think that's the other component of it is patience and time. Yeah. And I say to people a lot of times that, don't go and quit your job and jump into that dream thing. Work on it on the side and such. And certainly right now with the whole coronavirus thing going on, a lot of people are out of work. I'm getting letters from a lot of my listeners saying, I was fired for the first time in my life. I was let go. I was furloughed. I don't know what to do. And I thought, well, this is an opportunity to start building up those things of, here's that dream job I always wanted. There are opportunities now throughout this time that is kind of a crazy time. But here's a chance to kind of spread my wings a little. Obviously, you got to do it carefully, though, too.
Yeah, clearly this is one of those terrible, tragic times. I mean, my heart breaks for people. I look at the news and the food lines and the food banks and people who, really took pride in taking care of themselves and their families now, having to, reach out for help and support. But I think it is an opportunity to say, okay, now what? How do I, reinvent myself? There's probably a better way to say that, because I think who you are right now is just fine.
Right.
But,
right.
Now what is the opportunity? And it might take a while, and you might have a lot of starts and stops, but absolutely try, you've got to keep going. It really is about the adventure of the journey. And sometimes, you think, and you famous people and successful people, I do as well. Yeah. And sometimes we have this mistaken belief that, when I get there, then I'll be happy. But it's not true. It really is about the journey. It's about being excited about, hey, I'm trying this. I'm moving in this direction. Do you remember that old song? Well, you're a radio guy, so you know that Neil Sedaka, I Miss the Hungry Years. Yes. I miss the hungry years. A beautiful song. One of my favorite old songs. I know I sound really corny now, but it's a beautiful song. But he talks about, I miss the hungry years. And for me, I think, it's those times when you were really beginning that journey. For me, it was like, I remember when I was first married and living in a studio apartment in Santa Monica with my wife. For 5 years, I lived in a one-room house, whatever you want to call it. And it was wonderful because we were both pursuing the dream. We were creating a life together. And it was a wonderful time. So I would say, again, if you're really out of work, try to find some adventure, some excitement, some enthusiasm. And I know it's a challenge. Yeah. to say, okay, I'm going to at least begin exploring this new direction, because it's not about you arriving somewhere. It's really about, the courage that it takes to keep taking one step and putting one foot in front of the other as you pursue something new.
I think that's fantastic advice, and it goes into the next topic I wanted to talk about, because you're really an expert in dealing with this, especially as a therapist. All the years of study of the brain and how we react to it. You tell it all very well. I've heard you talk about this many times, but it's something I have dealt with in my life. This fight or flight that has been kind of built into us now. And I remember reading a book on the brain and such, and they were saying, fight or flight is something that really maybe happens to us 1% of the time. Yet in this day and age, we are so anxiety filled. We're living it more often than not. Can you speak to that a little?
Yeah, fight or flight is one of these wonderful mechanisms that God gave, right? He designed the brain, so that when we were living out on the savannah, when we were living out in the wild and we carried a spear around with us, and all of a sudden the woolly mammoth or whatever it was, right, was about to attack. Fight or flight kicked in. It was that brain's response saying, you're about to die, do something. And literally, it was like, prepare the body to fight, to flee, to run, or to freeze. Really, fight or flight. You can think about it that way.
Yeah.
So what we face now are symbolic threats, largely. Your literal life isn't frequently in danger. People aren't coming up to you wanting to rob. Well, that happens sometimes, but you're not faced with physical threat all the time. Like you're going to be robbed or killed. But we react to life so often with the symbolic threats, like the stock market goes down, or you get into a fight with your loved one or your family or something like that, and fight or flight kicks in.
Yeah.
And your brain's saying, you're about to die, respond. And really what we have to do is to remind ourselves, I'm not about to die. I don't need this fight or flight mechanism to kick in right now.
Right.
I just need to relax. I need to breathe. I need to calm down.
Yes.
And so when we do that, then we can begin to deal with life really more appropriately, rather than everything is life or death.
Yeah.
You remember when you're like a teenager, right? And it's like, it's almost cliche. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I wore the wrong thing.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe it. But that's kind of how our brain continues to respond until we tell it, hey, just relax. It's not life or death right now.
Yeah, that is also, these forms of even PTSD, this post-traumatic stress disorder, of things that happened to us as a child that could have been very scary or dramatic, or even actually life-threatening. Does that come into play too, to where we kind of revert back to those moments because of something that never was properly dealt with? Is that
exactly right? Yes, you're exactly right. That's what happens, like with PTSD. And you could be traumatized as a child, you could have been abandoned or beat up or whatever else, or this can obviously happen as an adult. And the brain will just lock onto that. It'll hold on to it. It'll store it away. And then sometimes something later on in life can, your girlfriend wants to leave you, or your wife is mad at you. And all of a sudden the brain says, you're being attacked again. This is happening again. So you have that post-traumatic stress response again. And all of those feelings come flooding back in as though it's happening to you right now. And so, that's what happens with PTSD. So you do have to heal. And the question is, well, how do you do that?
That's it. Yeah, that's where I was going. Yeah. So what do you do in response to that? I know what I do. I certainly try to talk about it on the show, but what is the answer?
I think, again, to be somewhat simplistic, I think the first step is to recognize, to go back and to look at your life and say, this is what happened. Your life was threatened right now. You got to go back and sometimes uncover those dark places, which is hard to do. A lot of people don't want to do that.
But boy,
it's easier to say, that happened. I don't want to go there again.
It is so important. I don't mean to cut you off, but that simple thing for me changed my life. Once a voice came in and said, just acknowledge it. I went, oh, because I'm somebody that needs that acknowledgement, that justification or what have you. And this is why this is happening, because that happened. Oh, right.
Yes.
My brain was able to just calm down and then go, okay, so when I'm in a dark place and I was afraid of the dark as a kid, I'm using as an example, that's why my pulse goes up a little and I don't feel safe. And I have to remind myself this is a reaction to something from before.
Yes.
But the amazing thing is how well the brain responds to that.
Yes, exactly right. We're far more resilient. We're really meant to, God made us wonderfully resilient, but we can't suppress what happened. It doesn't work. In the gospel, right? Jesus says, pick up your cross and follow me.
Right.
He doesn't say follow me and everything's going to be easy, right?
Right.
In other words, there are going to be difficult things in life, and our job isn't to run from them or suppress those feelings. Our job is to really say, yes, this happened, acknowledge it, like you say. And then that can begin the healing. So I think what you just said, to acknowledge what happened, to allow yourself to, see what happened, and then to say, okay, and now what is my life like? What's going on now? Can I feel safe right now? What is the evidence that I'm still being threatened right now? Oh, I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can actually live with some more peace in my life. So, I mean, that's about the 20-second version of how do you heal from PTSD. Very good.
Yeah, no, but and it is important, and it's amazing too what social media, cell phones, all of our constant bombardment of having everything at our, I have a tendency to believe that even all of this that we're going through right now is being amplified so loudly through all of our social media and our devices that it is creating new forms of, or not new forms of, but like new PTSD in people because I grabbed my phone and I saw this information and it was shocking. And now we're building up these new things that we need to start breaking down and breaking away again. So, we try to spend time away from our phones here in our house. I don't know how you are there, but it's tricky, isn't it?
It is. And yet they've done research on this. Again, one of the reasons why young people are struggling so much with anxiety and depression is, again, because of social media. You're constantly plugged in.
Yes.
Like, when you and I were children.
That's right. Way back when.
No, but what would you do? You'd go out and, play kick the can or tackle your neighbor or, run around in the woods. But, we have less of that now.
Yeah.
Now it's, going online. It's like, oh, she looks better than me. He's doing this. And or we're attacked on social media. And news is all about, it's that quick, alert, everything's going wrong. Because if you don't think things are going wrong, if you don't think it's desperate, why tune in?
Yeah. And then also just this pressure to feel, to put up a fight of, if you don't believe the way I believe, we're no longer at this point. My buddy Tom Wilson, the actor, and I have talked about that of like, most people don't agree with each other 100%. Now, even though you and we can sit here and we're good friends and we talk about things, I'm going to bet that Joe and James don't agree 100% on everything.
No, if you say it, I agree with you. It's the only smart thing to do. James Arnold Taylor says, I go, yes, I agree.
We forget that, though. And now it's been kind of built up that if somebody doesn't agree with you 100%, there's either something wrong with them, it's a reason to get mad, it's a reason to fight. And we have to learn to just kind of go, oh, yeah, everybody's a little different. I mean, it all starts to link together, though, too, in our responses to that. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yes, absolutely. Well, we have become so polarized, especially politically.
Yeah.
And it's really filtered down into our lives. It's in the world of psychology, we call it black or white thinking. I'm good, which means you must be bad.
Yeah.
And so we put up a fight because we're afraid to say, yeah, I don't really know, or you've got a point there. And I would say this, look, I'm not a political scientist,
right?
But I would say if you've got to run our politics that way, okay. I don't think we do, but I think we do. I think we do it.
Yeah.
But that is no way to run your families or your friendships or your relationships. We've got to enter into these things more humbly and really just seek to talk about ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get into a fight with somebody. Let's just say you're a Republican and your friend is a Democrat.
Right.
Rather than saying you're wrong, that you're the party of evil, to say, well, what is it that you would like to happen? Why would taxes at this rate be better, or this rate lower? Would be better.
Right.
Because in our families, the most important thing with your spouses, whatever your relationship is,
Mm-hmm.
the most important thing for us to do is to really try to understand each other
Right.
rather than demonize each other.
Yes.
So if you talk about the ideas versus attacking the person, that's going to lower the anger atmosphere, I think, quite a bit.
Yeah, and the acknowledgement of the other person is such an important aspect of it. Like my daughter, who is 15, I find that if I acknowledge her and I acknowledge her feelings kind of first and foremost throughout, it makes it so much easier to ask her to clean her room or to do what have you, you know?
Yeah.
And I find it in my marriage as well. I find it with my friends that, it's that acknowledgement that we're kind of missing now, or we feel is an underhanded attack, or we just don't trust. And some of that goes back to the fight or flight, this just kind of this weird thing that we've built up. And so I just try to have this place, I call this the JAT fellowship here.
Yeah.
The other thing that I say on this show is know what you believe and why you believe it, but also know more than you want to know in life.
Yeah, I like that. That's great.
I think that kind of goes back to it is we don't want to know more than we know. We just want to have people agree with what we know. And if we're willing to know more, it really makes us wiser people and able to communicate with just about anybody, wouldn't you say?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Some people wonder, as a therapist, right? And I know you're a fan of therapy. You're open to the whole idea of talk therapy and everything else.
Absolutely.
Sometimes people, they'll leave a session. I'll go, oh man, I hope I helped them. They'll come in the next week and they'll say, that was the best ever. And then, of course, I'm nodding my head like, of course it was, right? I know it. But then I'm thinking, what did I actually do? And the truth is this. Here's the secret about really great therapy is we all have this tremendous need to be heard, to be seen, to be understood. And the vast majority of therapy is really giving people the opportunity to be understood, to be heard, to be acknowledged.
Right.
And that's really the gift of therapy. And if we can bring those same principles, that principle into our relationships, I hear you, I see you. That's a great gift that we can give each other. We really don't have to agree with one another.
Right.
What we have to do is to understand each other, to see where we're coming from.
Yes.
And that lowers, any tension. It's like, oh, I get it. Because as a parent, right? You've got this beautiful daughter, 15 years old.
Yep.
There are a lot of things your daughter's going to come to you and say, Daddy, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And a lot of times to be a good parent, you're going to have to say, no, honey, we can't do that.
Right.
Right. And there's a couple of ways to do that. I'm going to paint in broad strokes here.
Sure.
The first way is like, no, how dare you ask me to do that? We can't do that. Right.
Yeah.
And she's going to feel really bad. She's going to shut down. She's not going to feel heard, understood. Right. It's going to lead to bad feelings.
Right.
But you can still say no to her. You can say, oh, honey, I'd love to take you to Disneyland today, but, we can't because of this reason. But let's go out and play. Or maybe, next year we can go to Disneyland. She's going to feel okay with hearing no, right? She's going to feel okay because you've heard her, you understand her, you acknowledge her desires. And that's really an important principle.
Yeah.
And I think the more that we can do that, the more truly we can get along with each other.
Yeah, and remembering that those principles are for, all ages too, because I think that people can certainly relate to that example, but we forget then when we're talking to our, 65-year-old accountant and we're arguing about this, that, or the other, or our boss who's this age or that it's the same thing. It never stops. We're all still responding to things that have happened to us throughout our whole lives, right? And so we still need that response. So really important stuff to share here.
Yeah.
I've always been very open about my faith on this show. I talk about my faith all the time, and quite a large amount of my audience is Christian. But then there's a lot of folks that are not. And what I find to be fascinating and wonderful is, I have atheists that listen to the show. I have folks of just other belief systems that listen. And they say, I like just hearing you talk about your faith. I like that you're just open about it. You're not pushing it. You're just explaining it. And I think that that's the best way we learn is just by being open to hearing things. But it's really the center of my life. I know it's the center of yours. It can make people uncomfortable when we're just like pushing it. But can we get closer, to God without just being like overly pious people. How do you do that on a regular basis when you're dealing with somebody that maybe like in a therapy session, you may have somebody that is not believing the same way as you, and yet you're a counselor that's basing what you do on your belief system as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And boy, what a great question you're asking. I think that, as Christians, and again, my faith has been molded in the crucible of adversity and fire.
Right. Yeah.
So you're going to go through difficult times in your life. And I think sometimes real faith is just to love. We think, living out our Christian faith is about preaching. No, more than anything, it's just to love, is to meet people's needs and to care for them, to be kind. The story of the Good Samaritan, right? You're familiar with the gospel story.
Yep.
Man gets beaten up and everything else. The religious people walk by him.
Yeah.
But who comes by and helps him? The Good Samaritan. And he just takes care of his needs. He puts him on his donkey. He puts him up in a hotel. He tends to his wounds.
Yeah.
And I think the more that we can do that, that Mother Teresa kind of life.
Right.
We can't do great things, but we can do small things with great love.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
I think that's really living out the gospel, is just to do the small things with love.
Yep.
And I think that's how we grow in faith, and that's how we share our faith.
Yeah.
I think too, I always go back to, I think about this, that leper. I forget which gospel story it is. It appears in a couple different gospel stories.
Yeah.
He goes up to Jesus and said, "Lord, if you want to, you can heal me."
Right.
Jesus says, "Okay, I want to." He heals him. But then he gives him an interesting instruction. He says, "Don't go talk about this all over town." In other words, he says, you don't have to blab about this.
Yeah.
You're cleansed. Your grateful life will bear witness to what I've done. And I think the more that we can live with gratitude, I think that's bearing witness to our faith more than anything else.
Yeah.
And from a psychological standpoint, I can say that the more that we live with gratitude, the healthier you are. I mean, secular researchers and therapists have come to this conclusion that making a gratitude list, focusing on the blessings in your life, the good things in your life, that's going to make you healthier and happier.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the best way to live out our Christian life, is to be grateful. So
it is amazing. We start our day with prayer together, my wife and I, and then as a family we do. But we also do these things that, like Norman Vincent Peale, the writer and theologian, pastor, I believe today's going to be a wonderful day. I believe I can successfully handle all problems that will arise today. I feel good physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's wonderful to be alive. These kind of positive affirmations. And I know affirmations and things like that, they get kind of almost like people roll their eyes. It's kind of corny, like the old Saturday Night Live bit, Jack Handy, I feel good today, But it is amazing what the brain takes in negatively and positively. And if we fill our day, or if we start our day with those positives, there is science that shows the brain responds to that, right?
Yes. It's not just some goofy new age thing. The brain has what's called a negativity bias. And what that means in short is, when you see a threat out there in the big bad world, your brain, your focus goes to that threat. So think about this. Yes, there are threats out there in the world, and there's a natural gravitation. There's a natural focus that your brain's going to have. But if you're always focusing on those negative things, your heart, your mind, your soul is going to fill up with the negative.
Right.
So you've got to be conscientious. You've got to consciously choose to focus to see what is good and right. As Paul says in Philippians chapter 4, these things that are good, that are true, that are noble, that are beautiful, focus on these things.
Yes.
Sometimes we have to make that deliberate choice to choose and focus, and to see what is good in the world, to choose to see what is good in each other, because that makes us healthier and happier, and that makes the world a better place.
Absolutely. And that goes to and we kind of wrap in that, what are the things we can do during this lockdown time, during this quarantine time, this time where we're kind of alone? I fill myself with positive things. We put on some good music. I like a lot of jazz. I'm putting on my turntable and playing some old, music like that off of records, but also listening to Psalms and things.
Yeah.
But we're also watching more positive things. I like watching shows that make me laugh, that make me feel good,
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and you and I are both obviously movie and TV fans, being actors
Yeah.
and such. Is there anything for you that's like a go-to kind of movie or show or song or album that you put on when you're kind of like, I'm kind of fighting against it?
Yeah, I do. I listen to a lot of good music. I have a good sound system, maybe
Yeah.
not quite as good as yours, but I have a good sound system, stereo.
Yeah.
So I listen to good music. I mean, I don't know, Sarah Bareilles and Ben Rector and John Legend, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But I will purposely, I'm a big fan of comedies.
Yeah.
And I just, I'll watch things like Zoolander or, or lately I've been watching the Christopher Guest movies,
Yeah.
Waiting for Guffman
Yep.
or This is Spinal Tap, because laughter is so good. And during these dark times, again, that's one of the ways to choose to focus on the positive, because when you laugh,
Mm-hmm.
when you laugh, and this is scriptural, Proverbs speaks about this, laughter is a good medicine.
Right.
When you laugh, you're reminding yourself that you're not about to die, that life isn't just tragedy, that there is good out there. So I specifically will watch those classic funny movies. Typically, anybody who falls down is very funny to me. I love slapstick.
Yeah, the old Three Stooges and
Yeah.
all of those things too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love all of it. Defending Your Life is one of my favorites. And it certainly is not like a Christian film. It's Albert Brooks,
Yeah.
but he dies and he goes to Judgment City. I just feel like it's a great reminder of all of this, of just like, because the whole movie is about fear,
Yeah.
facing your fears, and that he lived a life that was kind of fear-based. And so will he come back in a new life in that?
Yeah.
But I love that whole thing, because we can spend our whole day in fear, watching the news, staying on Twitter and social media and all of that, or we can go out there and laugh and look at life and look at a tree, as I always say, look at a tree and see the beauty of it, and get outside and
Yeah.
and breathe some air. So
Yeah.
I thank you for all of that, but I also thank you for giving us more of the kind of the science to it, because for me personally, it's always been more important at the end of the day for me to be able to handle things by knowing truths about it. And if
Yeah.
I know those truths, my brain just handles things better. So I really appreciate you
Yeah.
enlightening us in that way.
Oh, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. You're a bright guy. You're a wise man, James Arnold Taylor.
So now, well, so are you. And where can people then? You've got Facebook. You're taking it, and we can actually watch you on Facebook, and you are addressing topics and such.
Yeah, well, the Joe Sikorra shows, basically, I'm on Twitter on that, and I put up, several times a week, a little 45-second encouraging videos.
Right,
or,
I love those.
A Joe Sikorra show on Instagram and Facebook. Once or twice a week, I'll do shows, and I combine psychology and faith.
Right.
That's kind of my passion, my love to do that.
Yep.
And I'm working on some other things, God willing. It would require a miracle, but I'm trying to create a TV show right now.
Oh man,
which is doing just that.
I've seen it. Always Forward, correct? Is that the title?
Yes, that is it. Always Forward. When I was doing radio, I had a radio show for about 4 years, and I would talk about psychology and combine the faith, right? And
Right.
I would always end the show with, I will meet you back on the road, which is, the meaning to that is, you got to meet people where they are. As a therapist, you can't come in and say, well, you've got problems, I'm not going to talk to you. You got to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
But I will meet you back on the road, and remember, or then, whatever, and remember, always forward. And so I think that's the call for us.
Yes.
Is to always say, okay, I've been knocked down, but always forward. I'm going to get back up. I'm not going to deny the fall. I'm not going to deny the setback. But as long as I've got breath, I'm going to take that next step.
That is awesome.
Always forward. So Always Forward is the name of the show. And
I've seen a few episodes of it. It's really awesome.
Thank you.
It kind of reminds me of shows that I love, like Caesar Milan, the Dog Whisperer, where, he gets in his vehicle and he goes out to the person's house and he kind of interacts with them to address their issues with their animal or something.
Right.
You're doing it with people's minds, with the psychology that we're dealing with on a regular basis. You get in the car, you don't just meet them in an office, and you go to them, and then you all get out into nature and you have a session.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful show. It's a great way of introducing people that may be a little afraid to take that first step and find a therapist on their own.
Right. Yeah, that's the whole idea, is to normalize therapy, to normalize the problems that we all face, the struggles, talking about anxiety or depression or grief or loss or suicide, whatever it is, and to say, hey, this is how it affects you and the people around you.
Right.
And then, I always try to leave with some encouraging message about, how to move forward, how to take those next steps. So as opposed to some of the other psychology shows on TV that are very, very exploitive, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do that as a therapist. I can't do that. I would never do that.
And I don't think there's a chance for people to really grow and learn the same way in those. I mean, again, they're really more so for, titillation, if you will,
Right.
of the, ooh, look at this.
Yeah.
This leaves you with the ability of, now I have some tools by watching Joe with this person or that person dealing with a problem that's very similar to mine. So I'm hoping and praying that this show you've created really takes off on its own and that we find a place for it to be. And so I hope everybody listening will follow you and spread as much encouragement to share and get this show out there as well, too.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
And then your Twitter handle, your Instagram handle is
Joe Sikorra Show.
Joe Sikorra
all
Show.
one word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All one
Joe
word.
Sikorra.
No
Yeah.
underscores or any of that. Yeah. So, and
No.
I'll post it here as well. But Joe, I thank you so much. Again, I am just honored to call you friend and to have you on the show here and to help. And I hope maybe we can do this again sometime and maybe even take some people's calls and stuff, because I have the ability to take calls.
To do
So.
that.
Okay,
I would
good.
love to do. You're doing great work, man. Keep it up, and God bless you and all that you're doing. So I'm a big fan of everything you're doing.
Well, God bless you, my brother. I appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
Joe Sikorra, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being on the show. Yes, Joe Sikorra. So you want to go to Instagram and follow at _Joe_Sikorra, SIKORRA_show. The Joe Sikorra Show. Follow him on Instagram. Follow him on Facebook. Facebook, he does these beautiful, like half hour or sometimes more talks on various things and takes letters and emails or whatever, kind of answers questions that he's been getting and talking about things that are very topical, very timely. Check out the Joe Sikorra Show. What a great guy. Please buy his book as well, Defying Gravity. Go to Amazon.com. It is not an expensive buy. It is a very compelling, and I mean this in the best way, easy read, meaning a few hundred pages, you go through and you're entertained, you're ensconced in somebody's life that has again, seen it all and dealt with the hardest tragedies you can deal with and has found ways of doing it with joy. That's amazing. Okay. Joe Sikorra, what a great guest. Hey, I wanted to get to one email before we end the show. I got a letter from a fellow named Rick in the United States. He says, I was just laid off yesterday. I've never been unemployed in my life. I'm full of fear for my family as the primary breadwinner. I don't know what to do. I'm going to go back and listen to your podcasts again. They've helped me through other troubles that I've had and that now seem stupid and petty. I'm praying for God's guidance and peace. Thank you for what you do. Rick, God bless you, my friend. You've been in my prayers since I received your email, and I'm sorry I haven't answered. I'm sorry, folks. I've been trying to get to answering emails, and I try to answer them here on the show, as you know. Rick, I want to tell you a story, and I want to be clear why I tell stories, why do I do this stuff? Because I learn from learning. In other words, I learn from listening and taking in and feeling other people's experiences. Plus, I want to learn from people that have experienced things that I've experienced or more. Again, know more than you want to know. Know what you believe and why you believe it. It all goes in line with it. So I have a story because I do know what it's like to be unemployed. This goes way back to when I was 20, 21, almost 21. Now, I've mentioned before that I was a DJ from the age of 17 on, and I worked in radio. My first job was at a local radio station in my hometown of Santa Barbara at 17. I walked in there and said, how do you get into radio? Started sweeping up the floors. And by the time I was 20, 21 years old, I had my own show. I was the prime time, 8 to midnight DJ. I was the production director for the station, which meant I wrote, voiced, and produced most of the radio commercials that we did. I did all of the advertising stuff for them in that and worked with the sales department in that. I had been the assistant promotion director there. In a very short time, in about 3.5 years, I ran the gamut and became very successful as a known DJ in my hometown there of Santa Barbara. And it's very common in radio for new management to come in. And so we had a new program director that came in, and she decided she was not a fan of the old James Arnold Taylor. And I went by James Taylor at the time. I was the Night Rocker. James Taylor, you're listening to the Night Rocker here on K-Tide. That was Pink Floyd. We're going to hear from Led Zeppelin. So it was our classic rock station. And I had a nice little following. I was a local kid, born and raised in Santa Barbara and all of that, and produced the commercials, a lot of commercials. People liked all the voices I did, all that stuff. This woman had come from another place and did not like me and wanted to get rid of me. And one day I was about to start this brand new show that I was doing that night. It was premiering that night. It was local bands where I was going to interview local bands and stuff. And before I could put that show out on the air, which I knew people would have liked, she came in while I was working on it in the production room and fired me. Just straight up, you're done, you're gone, out. I was just about 21 years old at this time. I was shocked and I was dismayed and I was hurt because I didn't really feel as though I had done anything wrong. And look, in radio, it's not uncommon to lose your job when a new program director comes in. That's actually pretty common. Most people that work in radio go, oh, you're kind of nobody until you get fired. Doesn't matter when you're 21 years old, engaged, about to get married, about to start a new life, have a successful job and a successful career, moving towards your goals of eventually moving to Hollywood to be a voice actor and all of that. So I was devastated. I lost everything. I was unable to collect unemployment because this woman filed a grievance against me saying that I was not a good employee and made it so I could not collect unemployment. So I had to move out of my apartment, moved back in with my mom. Thanks, Mom. Let me sleep on her sofa while I was completely unemployed, had to borrow money from my aunt. Thank you to my aunt. And really had to do some soul searching. Now, yes, very different than being a family man with kids and wife and all of that. I get that. I'm not trying to say, Rick, I'm going through the same thing. I'm saying I've been in that. Here's my story. So I was, starting my life. My wife was not my wife yet. We were engaged. She was in City College. And so I had to scramble. I had to try to figure it out. So I applied for every possible radio job I could. And of course, Los Angeles being one of the biggest radio markets on the planet, nobody was going to hire me. I was just a local DJ in a small town, even though I had a pretty great production ability because I was producing things and doing voices, and I was very creative production-wise. But I sent tapes out. So you had cassette tapes back then, and I sent tapes out everywhere, and I tried to get a job. And I could not collect unemployment because of this woman. So I had to file a grievance with them and put it into arbitration and mediation and with the unemployment insurance and all of that, and wait. And months passed, and I got a job offer in North Carolina. So I moved to North Carolina with the thought that eventually my wife would follow me out there. Once we got married, we would move out there and such. Put everything that I owned in my life in the back of my pickup truck, and I moved to North Carolina. I moved there, and I drove there for 4 days. I drove from Santa Barbara, California, which is on one side of the coast, to North Carolina, which is the other side of the country. And I did it in 4 days, which is not recommended. I do not recommend that. I was having like hallucinations while driving and stuff because I was driving till all ends of the night. It was terrible because they were like, well, we'd like you here by this time. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do whatever you want. I was Billy. I'll do whatever you want. Yes, sir. Yeah. Oh, yes, sir. I was going to be the production director and the morning show producer at an oldies station in North Carolina. So I got there in 4 days, got the job, got an apartment, all that, just try to start over anew. And that's when I realized, 7 months in, that I really needed and wanted to be a voice actor in Hollywood. I had pitched this idea for a Back to the Future cartoon, and they said no, but thanks anyways. And then within the year, they had created a Back to the Future cartoon that came out and starred my friend David Kaufman as the voice of Marty McFly. Well, good for you, David. David was Danny Phantom as well and stuff. But I had actually put a whole pitch together and sent it to him. Anyways, at that point, when I saw that they were making this cartoon, even after I had pitched one that was very similar, and I'm not saying they stole my idea. I'm just saying it happens in Hollywood. It gave me the drive to go, you know what? I'm going back there and I'm going to conquer this whole thing. I'm going to be a voice actor in Hollywood and I'm going to do it. And so I did. So I moved back with no job, no prospects, nothing, and took the last paycheck I had from these folks and moved back home after 7 months. When I got home, I got a job part-time at a radio station, a easy listening station in town, which was very confusing because then it was, this is James Taylor playing James Taylor because there's James Taylor, the singer. Anyways, it was fun. And I get a call from the unemployment office saying, we will hear your case now. Now, this has been months, almost a year. And they finally heard my case. And within the time that I had been at the other station, the station's management fired the program director that fired me. And she eventually had ended up firing the rest of the staff, which had been people that had been there forever and were wonderful people. She fired everybody. And so they ended up firing her, bringing some people back. And they ended up saying she was wrong. And I won my unemployment money and got that money. It wasn't a huge amount of money, obviously, but it was enough to help me get my start back up on my feet. I was still living on my mom's couch, but the day before my wedding to my wife at the age of 21, the station called me back and offered me my old job back. And I took it, and I was there for a little while, and then eventually, very quickly actually, moved into working and getting a job in Los Angeles, producing radio comedy for the premier radio networks. And you all know that story. I've told it before, but it was part of the story. It was part of the plan. It was part of what needed to happen to make me stronger, needed to happen to give me the drive, and needed to happen to show some redemption in it too. So I say all of that, Rick, and to all of you that are struggling right now with these things, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. Know that whatever you're going through is there to help make you stronger. And here's the big one. Here's the big one right now that we all need to do. Do not live in fear. Do not live in fear. We are to fear only one thing in life, and that is God. And it's not the same fear. It's reverence. We've talked about it before, but I'm going to keep talking about it. We have reverence for God. We do not have fear like we fear, the dark, or Brian fears clowns. And so some people fear clowns. I'm not making light of that. I know some people fear it. It's scary. But what I'm just trying to say, we are to live in confidence and strength, knowing that each and every one of these things that are no good. There's no good thing I can say to anybody that has lost a job in this situation that we're currently in this world that I honestly believe is just a mess and needs to end. That's as much as I'm going to say about it. This has been a great show. Look, there's so much more to cover. There's so much more for me to tell you and talk about in regards to all the things that we're experiencing here. So I just want to say, hang in there. I'm going to do another show soon. I'm going to start probably doing some shows with interviews of some of my friends, some of my good friends, just to help lighten up the mood and talk to people that have known me for years. And we'll just talk about life and stuff and try to inspire you. But I also just want to remind you all, stay safe out there. But that doesn't mean everything that you're getting out there. What I mean by stay safe, what I mean is keep your heart safe, okay? Breathe through it. Don't be a victim of it. Don't let this stuff get you down. Don't let all of the noise of the media and the junk that is going on and the politics that are going on in regards to all of this get you down. Remember, we're human beings and we are made for contact with each other. We are made to love each other. We are made to embrace each other. So do not think that this all means we are supposed to fear each other and not trust each other anymore. The biggest thing that I fear out of all of this is that we all stop trusting each other. Don't stop trusting people, okay? And let's all remember, yes, wash our hands, stay safe and all of that. But let's also remember, we need to love each other. We need to trust each other. We need to not fear. We cannot live in fear. The God I know, the God I believe in, doesn't allow for me to live in fear because He's got this. He's got this. All right? Mr. Announcer Guy,
Yes, James?
close us out with that legal mumbo jumbo.
Here we go, man. Talking to Myself, the James Arnold Taylor podcast is a production of Yumigo Inc., recorded at JAT Studios. Engineered, written, recorded, and produced by, you guessed it, James Arnold Taylor. All voices are parody and should be construed as entertainment only. All music and sound effects used with permissions and licenses through Backtracks, Digital Juice, Production Tracks, and Partners in Rhyme. James Arnold Taylor's Talking to Myself, the podcast. Copyright 2020, all rights reserved.
Thanks for that.
You got it, dude.
Okay. Everybody, we're going to get through this. We are going to get through this. More shows to come, more shows coming out. I've been putting out a lot of content on my YouTube channel. Check out my YouTube channel if you have not. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please follow me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all of that. It's at JATactor, at JATactor. Please subscribe. Please give me nice comments on the iTunes there. Give me thumbs ups, no thumbs downs. Still tired of those 2 people giving me thumbs down, and now it's 2 of them, so they're starting a trend now. It's 2 people that don't like me. But God bless you 2. I'm praying for you. I know you're not listening all the way through to my end of my shows, because I know what you do is you get on there and you just give me a thumbs down the second you see me post. But if you happen to be listening and you're one of those people that gives me the thumbs down, I'm praying for you. I have love for you. I believe in you, and I know you can accomplish good things in life. So please know, James is not against you. I just prefer you to not give me those thumbs downs. God bless you, folks. Don't let the bad stuff get to you. Stay strong, and we will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.